Hi there, Trevor here from Double Bill Movies. Right, well, you've probably seen from the thumbnail that this is not a regular video from me. You may know that I am heavily into World War II, hence these things here. This is an ammunition pouch from World War II, and of course there's some DVDs, and that's some John Wayne DVDs. So basically, a few years ago, I was in an antique shop and I found this little thing, and it said World War II something or other. And I asked the gentleman, and he said it was basically a film magazine that would go in what they call a gun camera. And this would go in a Spitfire or a Hurricane. And then basically, as they shot at the enemy, the camera would start filming. And that's how you get the sort of footage that you see in these documentaries here. You know, so when you see the really sort of grainy and very low resolution, not very much detail, but enough to deter what kind of plane was being shot down, this was mainly to determine if it was like half a kill or a full kill, or if the pilot just missed. These cameras were also used in training, so to assist in, you know, they would sit and watch the footage back, and it would say, well, okay, you're off here, you're not quite getting high enough or low enough or whatever, and that would help in the training. But this is how they got the footage from World War II in these gun cameras. Now, this is the cartridge here. I've no idea if there's any film in it. I haven't opened it, but I want to perhaps take it to the Imperial War Museum and see if they can find out if there's any film in it, and if so, what's on it, you know. You may think, well, that's a bit of a weird thing to get, but no, not really. I mean, who knows what this has seen. Not this piece of metal as such, but the film that was encapsulated inside it. Obviously it can be swapped out in a dark room and everything, but you know, what has this shot? It might not be a gun, but it's clearly shot film, and essentially it's shot towards the enemy. So yeah, and then, as you may know, not long ago I was on holiday, and we went to some more sort of antique places, and there was this big emporium in West Bay in Dorset. And basically there was lots of different vendors, and you walked around all these old sort of fishing buildings, and each little sort of segment, I guess, where they would store the fish and whatnot, had all sorts of different things. Some were just new things, some were upcycled, you know, people had taken stuff off the beach and whatnot and turned them into arts and craft. But there was also actual antiques in there. And in one section, when we got upstairs into the bigger building that's at the end, basically there was this rack full of cameras, and it said all cameras tested and working. So there was obviously stills cameras, there were little box movie cameras which I thought about getting, and I walked away, and I just was looking for my wife, and I glanced over there again, and I was like, ooh, what's that one? And basically I came across this. Now you might hear a rumble in a minute. That's because we're in the middle of a thunderstorm. So if you see a flash or anything, it's because it's not that close, but anyway, it's thundering. So this camera would have been mounted in either a Spitfire or a Hawker Hurricane. They were also mounted in the noses of Mosquitoes, all British fighters. I mean, the Mosquito could be used as a light bomber as well, but it was faster than the Spitfire, so it did some hell of a job during its time. But as most of us know, the Spitfire. But I found a brilliant video, which I will link in the description, about this camera on YouTube while I was on holiday, because obviously I wanted to know more about it. And so basically it's a camera type G point, there you see the flash, G.45, and it holds 16mm film, and it is orthochromatic film, and it comes in lengths of 25 feet. Now I think that gives the pilot about 4 minutes. Now clearly he can shoot lots of different planes. So on that there will be 14 frames that when the film is loaded in to the cartridge, they will wind it on 14 frames, so they will be blank. So when the pilot first starts to fire his bullets, it will start from frame 15, and then you've got all the rest to film on. The reason that they are left blank is there is something else that I now need to track down called a titler, and basically it's kind of, I think it's made of wood, and they load the film into it, and basically they write on a metal slate in black pen the pilot's name, the date, and the plane that's supposed to be shooting at. Now obviously if there's more than one type of plane, they won't list them all, but because they can only do the first 14 frames with this title on it, and that will equate to about a second of footage. So this title card that you see in the movies, you know, will be on screen for a second, and basically that's 14 frames of the same. And because it'd be black pen on this sort of white or silver background, it comes out black with white writing, so the negative of it. And anyway, so that goes on the first 14 frames of this. During that video that I said I'll link below, the gentleman talked about the different planes it could go in. Now I wanted to know, because I'd seen a lot of pictures online where this basically is where the power cable goes, is out the back here, and I'm thinking, okay, well, why is that? Clearly this determines what plane it goes in. Now I have to admit, I was ever so slightly gutted that this didn't go into a Spitfire. Not in this configuration, but there's no saying it didn't end up in a Spitfire at some point. But in this configuration, I determined, looking at the I'll put a time code, or I'll just say the segment when he shows the picture of the Hawker Hurricane, and wow, it's getting pretty flashy out there. And the camera's like this, and also if you look here, this green is also under here. There's a black gap there, but so this green band on the lens here helps determine what plane it went in, because on the Spitfire it's a smaller green band. I don't think this red has anything to determine, it's just to help show the different parts easier for the ground crew to see. Now here comes the rain. So yes, if you look at the section in the video about the gun being in the Hawker Hurricane, you can see the camera mounted like this, and that the cable is coming out the side. Just about noticed it. So I was like, oh, okay, so this has been in a Hawker Hurricane. Now obviously we're quite eager to get this home. It's got all these flip catches, and this opens up like this, and now I can load the cartridge. So that in there like that, and there we go. And that's really quite heavy now. So yeah, that's how the ground crew would load it. And there's also a means here. This comes out, and I think you can see this other circle here. This comes out, and they've got a manual sight, so they can basically focus the camera. And I think this is a short lens. Yes, it's definitely a short lens, because the longer lens, you know, came out to about here. It was about yay long. So this is another means of getting the well, they kind of call it a cassette, really. If I can get the little, so that's another means that they can load and unload it. Obviously depends if it's in the plane. There you go, get you a look inside. Now this comes off. These basically, I opened the camera while I was in the antique shop, and this coin bag was inside, and I was like, oh, I didn't throw it, but then I looked closely and noticed these 8 screws. So I'm glad I didn't sort of get rid of it or anything. But yeah, so this hole at the back, wow, that's really flashing. Not going bang though. Can't remember this now. Come on, a bit louder. So there we go. There's my camera type, G.45 gun camera. Now, can't remember if I got this before I even found that cartridge, but I have a book here, gun camera, World War II. So, you know, these sorts of images, obviously there are cameramen that go up with little film cameras that will shoot the better quality footage. But let's see if I can find something. There you go. So the resolution of that picture is not very good, but that's because it's on the 16mm and it's basically been shaken around by the vibration from the machine guns going off. So the gun will be mounted right next to the fuselage, the main body of the plane. They did add sort of a dampening system. It's getting louder. They did add a dampening system, obviously, to improve the shaky cam, so to speak. But let's see what else we can find in here. Well, got a problem with its nose, that plane. Kind of missing, and they're still flying. So you may see footage where the pilot is strafing the ground or dropping bombs, and of course you never see the explosion because they peel off and the camera stops running, or carries on running for a little bit, but then it's suddenly not looking at the target. So that's from these gun cameras. So I guess they were mainly there for determining what plane had been shot down, if it was a full kill or a part kill, and like I said, training purposes. But I'll let you listen to the thunder. Well, that was a good one. That sounded good. Oops. So there we go. There's a selection of frames. So anyway, that's that book. L. Douglas Keeney, sorry, Keeney. If you're interested. So I know my channel's about movies, but I'm also enthusiastic about this, and I'm not going to set up a World War II channel, maybe one day, but just wanted to show this off. So the camera can shoot in either 16 frames per second, 18 frames per second, or 20 frames per second. Now obviously 20 frames per second will give you better picture quality, but you'll have a shorter amount of film because it will be running faster through the camera. Yeah, like I said, it could be, that particular camera could be mounted in the Hawker Hurricane, the Supermarine Spitfire, or the Mosquito, and I forget where the Mosquito was made, but all British planes and all amazing planes. Yes, people talk about the getting louder. You know, we tend to go on about the Spitfire more than the Hurricane, but the Hurricane in some ways was the backbone, well, it definitely was the backbone of the Battle of Britain, and did a lot of the harder work than the Spitfire did. The pilot had a control, and you'll see this if you watch the video. The pilot had a control. So obviously, when you've got different kind of lighting, so if it's a cloudy day like today, you're going to want a higher exposure than if it's a bright day. You want to reduce the exposure. And he actually had a control that he could change while he was flying. So not only did he had to, one, think about flying the plane, two, make sure that there's no enemies around him shooting at him, three, when he's shooting at a plane, has he got the camera on the right setting so that when they watch the footage back they can actually see it properly. But that's all explained in this video. So but that's quite incredible to know. You know, you think about these Formula 1 drivers and all the weird and wonderful things they do on their steering wheel and whatnot whilst they're driving at 150, 200 miles an hour, you know, round corners and things. You know, these World War II pilots equally had lots of things to think about. And if any of you are pilots out there and you know what it takes to concentrate on flying, being in a dogfight, and you know, you may not have had that many hours training. You may have had 15 hours, 20 hours, when really you needed sort of 30, 40, 50 hours of training to be really a good pilot. That's sadly why a lot of the pilots didn't make it, but clearly a lot of them did get through, and they worked their way through the entire war. But yeah, that's just a little video of something I'm interested in. I hope I made that interesting for you. That's about all the knowledge I really have on it, and that's kind of all there is to say on it. But yeah, so if you're wondering, when you see these movies and you get the sound when they're showing it on screen and everything, obviously that's the projector playing it back, but the footage quality doesn't look so good because it's come from this and it's been on the plane and only starts filming when the pilot presses his machine gun button. So you know, it's quite a clever thing, quite an advanced thing if you think about it, for World War II back in the 40s. This is developed in the 30s. So this is off the back of a camera that was put in Vickers planes. Not Vickers as in the cloth Vickers, Vickers as in the manufacturer. So yeah, there you go. There's my gun camera, and you know what? I spent £45 buying this part. I can't remember how much it cost me to buy the cartridge because it was a long time ago, but it was originally up for 50, but as you do at these antique places, you barter and you ask, and she was able to do it for 45. Now I've seen these on eBay for nearly £200. Maybe slightly better condition than this one, but again, you know, they may not have the cartridge either. They may just have this, the main camera itself. so another bit of information for you. It takes 12-volt power. So if I was able to get this going again somehow and somehow film something with it, then I would need to get 12 volts in there. But there you go. So yeah, my next video will be back to something more normal, back to, you know, these things, movies. But this is a movie camera, just of a different type. So there you go. Please like and subscribe. Set your notifications to all, and you know, give this video a thumbs up. That's obviously the like bit. And I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.